This is KGW News at noon.
In just the last hour, Governor Brown gave an update on the COVID-19 pandemic. She says modeling shows that Oregonians are slowing down the Delta surge. Hello, I'm Drew Carney. Thanks for joining us here at noon. That news conference we just mentioned also focused on COVID-related issues in local schools. The director of Oregon's Department of Education, Colt Gill, said the best way to keep your children safe at this point is to get them vaccinated. He announced new guidelines that start today, including anyone who comes in close contact with kids should be vaccinated. Anyone with kids or anyone who works with kids should limit gatherings or keep gatherings outdoors if necessary. All extracurricular activities for kids should be held outdoors, and large school events like teacher nights should ideally be held online. Here's one more. Families should check school and government websites, Gill says, to stay up to date on COVID protocols.
These two statewide safety protocols and each of the safety protocols put in place by your school not only make it safer for everyone, but they also help ensure that our kids actually get to stay in school.
Gill says the goal is to have every child in Oregon return to in-person school this year and to keep them there for the entire school year. Of course, between the pandemic, political unrest, and natural disasters, there have been plenty of reasons for people to be anxious over the last couple of years. But a local rabbi is trying to help families by sharing advice on how to cope with all of this. So we're talking about Rabbi Brian. Here he is. He has an online church called Religion Outside of the Box. His congregation has over 3,000 members. And when it comes to anxiety, he says children are having an especially tough time right now. That includes his own daughter. But one of his favorite tips involves living in the now.
To simply ask yourself this question: am I safe right now? And try to ask yourself that question. Maybe set an alarm on your watch to go off every hour and ask yourself consistently, am I safe right now? Because the answer tends to be yes.
Rabbi Brian says parents should also let their kids know that it is okay to ask for help. One of our other top headlines today is the fact that federal unemployment assistance is now expired, and Oregon employers are hoping that means hiring might get a little easier. 120,000 Oregonians collected unemployment last week, but now all across the country, 7.5 million people are losing all federal unemployment benefits. And another 3 million people will see their weekly checks cut by $300.
We're still estimating that, unfortunately, approximately 81,000 people may no longer receive benefits for weeks after September 4th.
It takes a toll on your psyche. You feel like you're not good enough. And you tend to be hard on yourself. That nobody wants you, that you aren't capable.
That woman we heard from just there is Jody Webster. Jody lost her job as a pharmacy tech last year, and she hasn't had much luck finding a new job, either in or outside of her field. Economists point out that even though there are 100,000 job openings in Oregon right now, some businesses will still be slow to hire, especially with the Delta variant causing concern among some potential customers. Our next local story involves the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, who's speaking out right now on Portland's resolution to boycott Texas goods and services, all in response to the state's new abortion law. So in a tweet, Dan Patrick said the following: Portland boycotting Texas, he said, is a complete joke. A city led by depraved officials allows lawlessness, putting their citizens in grave danger. A boycott will hurt them, he said, not us. Texas economy is stronger than ever. We value babies and police, they don't. And that was the end of his tweet. Portland City Commissioners are scheduled to vote on the emergency resolution tomorrow. President Biden, meanwhile, and Democrats in Congress, as well as blue states all across the country, they have vowed to fight the Texas law, which would ban most abortions after 6 weeks. On the other hand, Republican-led states, including South Dakota and Florida, have already considered similar restrictions. Well, it was 1 year ago, and this is what it looked like 1 year ago on this day in Oregon's Santiam Canyon. Wildfires mixed with a heavy layer of smoke turned the sky red. Historically strong east winds on Labor Day last year also fueled what would become one of the worst wildfire events that this state has ever seen. Governor Brown released a statement proclaiming a day of remembrance for those historic 2020 Labor Day wildfires in Oregon. And we returned to the Sandy Am Canyon, which again was one of the hardest hit areas last year, because we wanted to check in with how the people are doing there right now. We're talking about people from Idanha, Detroit, all over that area. And they came together to talk over the weekend and also to share a meal together. We spoke with one of the organizers with the Idanha Detroit Fire Corps. It's an organization that supports the volunteer fire district.
We wanted to have a formal mark on this day to give people the opportunity to come together as a community to collectively process those feelings and emotions.
On Sunday, the city of Detroit held a similar event celebrating resiliency in a community still standing and still moving forward. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of fire evacuees in California are returning home as crews make progress on the Caldor fire. You can see the welcome home sign there set up in South Lake Tahoe as evacuation orders were downgraded to warnings. Cal Fire officials say that more than 43,000 people were forced to evacuate. The Caldor fire has burned more than 215,000 acres and is now 49% contained. Another California community is coming home as well. Evacuation orders and warnings were lifted for the bridge fire in Placer County. You can see the crews slowing the flames in this video. While some areas near the fire remain closed, most are now cleared from evacuation orders. The bridge fire started on Sunday. So far, crews say it has scorched at least 411 acres and is 15% contained. Back in Oregon, areas are still dealing with wildfires. The Bull Complex fire, it's burning in the Mount Hood National Forest near Detroit. It has destroyed an historic fire lookout. So the Bull of the Woods lookout in Marion County, it was at risk for weeks, and firefighters tried to keep the fire from reaching the lookout, but conditions in the area got too dangerous. And again, that fire lookout was destroyed. The Bull Complex fire has burned more than 17,000 acres. We know it's about 7% contained at this point. Throughout many places in Oregon, wildfire smoke is clouding the air right now. That poor air quality is causing problems for people and for local businesses. So the smoke is from the Middle Fork Complex, which is burning in the Willamette National Forest. For 2 days in a row, the poor air quality canceled concerts at the Les Schwab Amphitheater in Bend. The smoke is also affecting people's health. One urgent care in Redmond says it's seeing a big jump right now in patients. People are complaining about a dry, scratchy throat, and they're not sure if their symptoms are from the smoke or perhaps it could be COVID.
Smoke alone will increase anyone's negative symptoms, whether they are having itchy eyes, burning eyes, congestion.
Crews working the Middle Fork Complex warn that it may take a big change in weather right now to contain the fire, so expect the smoke to be a lingering issue at least for a little bit.